I let a friend borrow my laptop since she had no power and came back to see that she had deleted all my iTunes library except for her favorite bands. She also changed my background and changed my default browser to IE. What rude things have people done to you when you were being nice? Video game disc quality has always been some serious crap to me. I had a friend borrow a few of my games that were near my favorite. He wanted to borrow them because his weren't working. Okay, fine, whatever. Fast forward about a week and I get them back and he had swapped all of my games for his scratched copies. Needless to say, I went back to his house and got all of my pristine games back. I hope you're not friends with this guy anymore. I can forgive messing up your games by mistake or just being careless, but this guy had a conscious thought to screw you over. What a dong. Friend asked to borrow a shirt. I walked in on him tearing my shirts off the hangers and throwing ones he didn't want to wear on the floor. Every time he threw one on the floor he made an unsatisfied noise. He is on Reddit and will probably read this. Good, cause when he reads this, he will know he's a freaking disrespectful little dong. I lent a close friend $2,500 to pay off creditors or she would lose her security clearance. That was 3 years ago, and I haven't seen a cent of it since. She's given me the runaround, told me she's make payments or get a loan, but I still see her partying and getting tattoos on Facebook. Meanwhile, I'm struggling to pay the bills while working full-time and going to school in the evening full-time. If you ever lend a friend money, don't expect to see it back. I just made a rule that any money I lend out is a gift, so don't lend any more money than you can afford to give away. My buddy called me up asking to borrow my car because his was needing repairs. I told him right away that he could. He was just waiting for a part to come in. I figured a well or so. It was a month and a half later of him dodging my calls and putting 3,000 miles on it, which means that he was not just driving it to work but also to his lady's house an hour away, and he didn't pay for an oil change. My friend and I went to the mall so I could help her find Christmas presents for my boyfriend and one of his friends. We were doing a big group gift exchange. She had a lot of money on her, and I just had my money for the bus because I'd already done my shopping. When it came time to leave, I realized I was a dime short for the bus. She refused to give it to me because she didn't want to break $1, not $100 or $50 or even a $20, though she also had them a single dollar bill. No amount of my pleading with her or offering to pay her back a full dollar when we got back would persuade her. I ended up having to ask strangers for a dime, and luckily one lady turned out to be much nicer than my friend and gave me an entire dollar. I can't remember being more angry with someone for being rude in my life. Kicker is she never got me a Christmas present either. I was with a friend a few days ago and we went to buy food. He had like $50 in cash on him and I was broke and only had like $5. I needed a snack for later and added it to what we were buying and he refused to pay for it because I was 2 cents over. 2 freaking cents. Said yes when a friend needed a place to stay for a couple of months. I had known her for 4 months at the time. She seemed nice and like a normal 18-year-old girl. First month was fine. Then she flipped the frick out. I woke up one morning and she was trying to kick the door to my bedroom down. Kept yelling that I was a bee and that I'd get what I deserve. Tried to strangle me later that day. Said she was going to kill me. Threatened to send a gang after me. Destroyed a lot of my things. And stole my booze to get drunk enough to yell some more at me. She even cut her lip with a razor blade to make it look like I had split her lip open. She posted on Facebook about how she'd break my legs and that she was going to kill me. Finally she claimed that I had stolen money from her. And nope. I even offered to hand her my phone so she could call her bank. Because I knew I was innocent. That made her freak out even more. I had to drag her out of the apartment while she was screaming and kicking at me after this had been going on for 5 or 6 hours. Then she tried to sue me because I kicked her out, and of course she lost. Turns out she needed money for drugs and thought that if she threatened me enough, I'd pay. She will forever be on my shit list. Next time you lend someone your computer, set up a login for them. That way, they can't destroy your setup without taking out the hard drive. They also can't find your Asian midget lesbian fetish P collection. Indian midget lesbian fetish P collection. Went on a 6-month deployment and left my car in the long-term parking on base. A buddy called me up saying he was having car problems and wanted to borrow my car for a while. I wasn't using it, so I said sure. Anyway, 4 months later I returned from my deployment and asked about my car. The guy who originally borrowed it was deployed, but he let someone else use it, and I think they also let someone else use it. When I finally found my car, it was completely trashed and it had been left in a snowbank. The locks had frozen and broke and I ended up junking it and getting $50 for it. I spent $2,000 on it and only used it for about a year. Remember Neopets? Well, when I was 12, I loved Neopets. I'm 22 now. I spent countless hours on that site, playing games, and was so proud that I had over 1 million Neo points. A friend slept over my house, and I showed her and she kept asking me how I managed it and what she could do to get it. I just told her to keep playing games and sell things. Her solution? Send a password reminder to my email account, get my password, steal my Neo points and close my Neopets account. The B. Dang, that is straight up mean. My little sister and her friend were freaking trolls on Neopets back in the day. They would make fake accounts pretending to be admins and ask for people's passwords, then steal the Neo points and change the passwords. I couldn't believe it when they told me. I went to live in Asia for a year and I needed someone to watch my house and cat. My friend needed a place to stay and she could only afford $1,000 a month. I get $5,000 a month for it normally, so I'll let her stay in my place with a few rules. No dogs. Have a housekeeper come like once a month. I came home to find dog hair all over the house and a freaking dog crap all over my patio, the litter box not cleaned. She wore all my clothes and shoes. She destroyed a lot of my purses. Wet eye stains all over the bathroom. I confronted her on everything and she acted like she did no wrong. Her response was, "You said to make myself at home, we are no longer friends." I made her move out. Also, when she was moving out, I looked in her suitcase and found a ton of my clothes she tried to steal. Haha, wow. One of the worst in this thread. I don't know if this counts, because I'm certain it was premeditated and quite criminal. When I was a teenager, my mom met this lady while walking our dogs, and they hit it off really well. They both loved pugs, and seemed to share some interests. My poor mother was really excited because she doesn't really have a lot of friends. My mom invited this lady to our house to show her our other pets. I remember them laughing and talking about stuff. At some point during her visit, this lady asks where the bathroom is. After coming out, she makes some excuse about needing to be somewhere and thanks my mom for the lovely time. Later, my mom discovers all her medications are missing from the medicine cabinet. She was having health issues that caused her fairly severe pain, and the narcotics this lady stole were what made her be able to function while she was getting better. My mom had to put up being in agony until she healed, because this selfish bee needed a fix. Also, she stole my brother's ADD medication and my dad's anti-anxiety medication. That would be highly illegal and I would have reported that lady to the police. Offered to lend a guy my extra, unlocked cell phone because his got stolen. I asked only that I get it back before April. This was Jan, so I could let a visiting friend use it. March comes around and this guy won't return my calls. Send him texts and he barely responds with non-committal responses. So, in April when I needed it, I go to his place and he's moving out. I stop him and ask for my phone back. He said he was busy moving and I couldn't have it back right then. I say no, give it now. He does. I get it back and he's filled it with drug dealers' names and texts, and 3 alarms for his flight the next morning woke me up at 5:30, 5:45, 6 am. Turns out he was about to leave the country for a few weeks with my phone. This happened first term of medical school. This guy is gonna be a doc. I just want to know how you know they were drug dealers. I lent a pen to a girl in my math class. I watched her break the pen and shred it into little pieces. After it all, she looked at me with a straight face and replied, "Did you want the pen back?" Oops, my bad. I lent a brand new pencil with my favorite hockey team's logo on it to a guy in school once. I think he thought the pencil was a snack before he gave it back to me. Bite marks everywhere. My dad lent our Sega Genesis to his sister, who then gave it to someone less fortunate. When my dad asked for it back and she told him, she then went on to say, "Doesn't it feel good to help others? Yeah, that's why we lent IT to you." She pawned it for drug money. My friend once invited us over for a surprise fun lobster dinner and then sent us an itemized bill a week later for over $50 a person. No one had ever asked for a lobster dinner. What OP described infuriates me to no end. I let my sister use my computer and she changed the default color scheme, changed the login screen to the god-awful grey username and password bar, Windows XP, changed the default browser to IE, changed my desktop and screensaver to some douchebag looking boy, deleted all my motherfucking desktop shortcuts, downloaded a bunch of crap music. I had previously tuned my computer to run faster, but when she did one of the above she managed to undo my changes and the computer ran slowly for the next couple of months until I figured out what she fricked up. Made 4 new user accounts, one for the motherfucking dog. I don't even know how she even managed to figure half of this crap out because she is one of those people that thinks if I unplug her monitor and plug it into a different computer the desktop image and shortcuts would be the same. I lost it when you said she made an account for the dog. My friend borrowed my favorite flannel. She never gave it back, so I just grabbed it from her closet. I tried to put it on but couldn't even fit an arm in. She'd sewed it, along with other things she'd borrowed from me, to fit her perfectly. They were then all 3-4 sizes too small for me, as she's a very small girl and I'm a very curvaceous one. Ended up losing like $300 worth of clothes to her inconsiderate tailoring. Borrowing implies intent to return. What she did was called stealing. Letting an old roommate from Cali stay with me in Colorado for a few weeks. It's been 4 months and he has peed on my couch twice. Couch pissery is unacceptable under any circumstances. I let my ex use my laptop for a week while hers was in the shop. Got it back and found out she was actively on a dating site. Sweet. I was having a party. I invited a good friend from a couple towns over who didn't really know anyone else that was going to be there. He asked me if he could invite a few people. I said sure, but no more than 4 people. In addition to the 4 people he brought, about 20 more of his invites showed up. I spent almost the whole party at the door, denying people's entry. Is she just dumb? Did she know what she was doing? Or did she think once she was done it would just go back to the way you had everything set? She's not that dumb, but she's not the brightest. I honestly don't know what was going through her head. I let someone borrow a book once. The instant it was in his hands, he bent both covers back to break the book's spine. That was the last time I ever loaned anyone a book. I hope you ripped it from his hands and clobbered him with it. When I was 6 or 7 I loaned my Diddy Kong Racing 64 to a friend. My dad and I had spent months playing that game and had made it to the last race with Wizpig. My friend deleted my save file. I cried. A lot. Wizpigs and butthole. That dong flies in front of you after every lap. I suggested an online gaming website to a friend. In return he told me about Reddit. Needless to say, my degree is in tatters and I can't escape. What a bastard. I was in the library revising for an exam which I had the next day, and I was just about to have a 10-minute break when an oldish lady comes up to me and asks if I can type something up for her, saying it will take 10 minutes. I happily agree. 40 minutes later I finish typing something. Bear in mind I can touch type at around 50 WPM. And she wants me to email it, but doesn't understand the concept of email, as she kept saying she wanted me to send it from the computer. In this time when I tried to explain email, the computer logs off. After the allotted time was used up, we then log on to find the saved file had been wiped. She then blames me for not being able to email it and asks me to come to her house to finish it. I say no way, so I am then asked when I will be back in the library. Say Saturday. She then says you will come back then and do it for me. Not a word of thanks the whole time, and wasted lots of time I needed for revision. I didn't go to the library on Saturday. What an self-entitled cow. My friends and I were going out to the bar. We all pitched in on a cab there except for one friend. At the bar we ordered lots of drinks and shots for everyone. When it was time to leave that bar to go to another, our one friend, who didn't pitch in on the expensive cab ride, just walks out of the bar without paying his bill. I walked out after he did. I paid mine, and a couple friends did too. Our last friend out the door got stopped and was told that our one friend didn't pay his tab, so he had to pay it. Never paid him back either. TLDR. Friend ran up an expensive tab at the bar, then walked out and left it for us. When I left high school, I still kept in contact with heaps of people as I still had their phone numbers stored on my phone and had a great plan which gave me free calls after 7 or 8 PM. My roommate asked to borrow my phone for a week and I said yes on the condition that he doesn't erase my numbers. He deleted every single one, added literally 3 numbers of his own and claimed to have written all my numbers down so it was okay. I asked to see the paper it was written on. He couldn't find it, and when I lost my crap I was deemed to be the bad person by everyone, even my own parents, because he had done the right thing by writing my numbers down. No one seemed to understand that he had lied and fricked me over so hard. These days it wouldn't be such a big deal as you just log on Facebook and just send a message to everyone to get the numbers back. But over a decade ago when this happened to me I was only able to get a few numbers back. I couldn't go near my old high school, etc. So the circle of people I was still in contact with dropped to maybe 10% at best, and everyone thought I was a dong for ignoring them, thinking my roommate was a butthole, not knowing who was calling, texting me anymore, etc. TLDR. Friend deleted all the contacts in my phone back in the days when getting them back was next to impossible. Everyone thought I was a dong. I used to be one of the only people with a truck in my fraternity back in college. One weekend they were having a big event and needed someone to transport a bunch of kegs. I had other plans, but one of the guys convinced me to let a pledge borrow my truck to transport the kegs. With 9 full kegs in my truck he hit a speed bump on campus going about 75 miles per hour. He destroyed part of my suspension system and whatever the bars are that help stabilize the truck. After they arrived, he apparently had to park in a very compact area. He hit someone else's car and put a few dents in it, but no damage on mine. Decided to park somewhere else and then ended up hitting a fence, putting 4 deep scratches into the side of my car. He never told me about any of this. There was another pledge in the car who ended up telling me the story. When I asked him about it he denied everything. I had to physically show him the scratches before he admitted hitting the fence. Later I took my truck to a shop and found out about the suspension issues. He told me that those weren't his fault and refused to give me any money to fix the issue. He never apologized either, even after confronted. Needless to say he never ended getting into the fraternity. After that I stopped lending out my truck. You should have lent a bat to his face. A friend let me borrow her car when I was an undergraduate to go see my girlfriend. I left it with slightly less gas in it than when I borrowed it, and she rightfully called me out on it. You seemed like the person who would leave the tank full. I said yay, it was a dong move, but I tried to do my best. I guess you didn't see the envelope. Left an envelope with $40, which, back in the day, would fill the remainder of the tank and then some. Saying that I am sorry, but I spend every minute possible with my girlfriend I rarely see, and wanted to get it back on time versus having a full tank. She felt bad, but I appreciated her forthcoming and being honest versus some passive aggressive crap. Also nice that I had preemptively remedied the situation. We are still friends a decade after. Dong friends aren't worth the time. Dong friends aren't worth the time. You have the essence of this thread right here. I was letting a friend crash at my apartment for a little while, and because of my work schedule I had given him a key. He made copies of the key, passed it around to his friends and told them when I'd be at work. My boyfriend said he was depressed and needed to move continents, so I threw all my money into doing that, quit my job, paid off my lease. He dumped me 7 days after my plane landed. He'd been thinking about this for a long time. I have lent my Pokemon Yellow edition to my friend with all the good Pokemon on it, all LVL 100, and he traded all of them onto HS Pokemon Red edition for low-level Pokemon. What an butthole. My 11-year-old son's friend borrowed his DS, played his Pokemon game and apparently released all his Pokemon into the wild. I don't speak Pokemon, but 1/2 hour of tears from my son let me know this was a dong move. I'm in a dental technology class. Once in a while someone would ask me for help. Being the nice me, I would help. It annoyed me when they leave while I do the work for them. Seriously, watch so you know what to do next time. GRR. Do their work wrong and turn it in for them. As someone who has had to re-upload their entire library on more than one occasion, I wish ill tidings towards your friend. Thankfully I had all my files backed up, but since I DJ occasionally all my songs had the key and BPM and the tags. Having to edit each individual ID3 tag over 1,000 times in one night was not fun. My friend said he was short on rent $40 and asked if he could borrow the money till he gets paid 3 days later. I had exactly $42 in my account, but I'll let him borrow it anyway. After I gave him the money, he asked if I wanted to go to a show that night with a $16 cover. I told him I just gave him my last $40. I can't go to any show. Also, I thought the money was for his rent that he was short. He said he wanted to treat himself to a show instead. EHGWTF. This is 3 months later and I still don't have that money back. I was not popular in high school, but I did have a job and therefore money and therefore comic books. So I'm sitting on the bus one day reading JTHM and this girl comes and sits next to me. She strikes up some small talk conversation, but is one of the first kids off the bus, so it never lasts long. She talks to me for a few days and then mentions the comic I had been reading and asks if she could borrow it. I let her. 2 days later, she gets on the bus, gives it back, and then says, "Yeah, I was just talking to you so you'd lend me the comic. Bye." That poor bee thought it was going to be that easy. From then on, whenever I saw her, I'd walk up to her with an exuberant "Hey friend, what's up?" I'd walk beside her between classes. I'd sit in the seat next to her on the bus. I would talk to her like we were BFFs, and anything she said to try to get me to stop was met with a laughing, "Oh, you." I was actively unpopular, so the moment I showed up, her friends scattered like guppies. They wouldn't be seen with her if I was around, and I was always around. After about 2 weeks she went to the principal and complained. He called the two of us into his office and told me that she had reported me for harassing her. I didn't even bother denying it. I said that she had pretended to be my friend so that I would loan her some stuff and then told me flat out that we weren't friends after I did. Our buses had video cameras which can back up my story, and I'm dispensing a very important lesson about why it's wrong to frick people over just because you think you can. The principal stared at me for about 30 seconds without speaking. He looked back at the girl and asked her if that was true. She kind of stammered for a couple seconds but didn't deny it. He sent us out of his office and no one got punished. I left her alone after that. Oh you. I can just imagine how pissed this made her. Well done. iTunes deleted all of my iPhone's audio files because I dared to reinstall my laptop and now I have a different library. Glad I made a backup first or it would have been a bigger pain in the butt. I think I have 3,000 plus songs. Frick iTunes. So, a friend of ours starts dating a new guy and they meet us for dinner. Being the nice people we are, we offer to pay for their meal. New guy proceeds to order the most expensive thing on the menu, plus the most expensive dessert, plus alcohol. This is called making a bad first impression. She sent him packing a few months later. Yeah, when I pay for other people I usually bring it up at the end of the meal. Preferable when the waiter/waitress asks how the bill is being split. When someone wears your shoes to run outside quick, and they step on the back of them instead of putting them all the way on. My family went on vacation for a week, and when we got back I realized that somebody had been in our house. My Xbox, PS2, all my games, and other random crap had been stolen. Also the carpets in the basement were muddy and the pool table had stains all over it. I later found out that one of my best friends broke into my house and had almost 200 people partying there for a week, where plenty of stuff was broken and stolen, including my 8-year-old sister's piggy bank, all of my parents' alcohol, any material item that I cared about. Nobody was ever charged for it even though we reported it to the police, because almost everybody in my high school was involved in the break-in. I had to switch schools, and all of my friends disowned me for being a snitch. That friend later went to jail for about 6 months because he sold coke to a kid who ended up dying. I sort of feel like if he had gotten in trouble for what he did to me, maybe that other kid wouldn't have died. TL. DR. Negligent homicide. Robbery. Lost all my friends. Switched schools. House trashed. Found out that my best friend was letting my then boyfriend come to her house to get picked up by other girls. Then a few years later found out that she was taking money from the same guy, still my ex, because she didn't have a job. I wouldn't have been quite as p except he hadn't paid child support in 4 or 5 years at that point. She said, "Don't worry, I'm not going to pay him back." It was like a slap in the face. She was taking money from my kid. We didn't speak for a very long time, and things will never go back to like they were. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.